Good morning, everyone. Monday morning, another week in paradise, as they say. I don't know if they say that, but I do know that the Flyers lost back-to-back games. I do know that I am obnoxiously excited for the Phillies to start, and I can't wait to see more games being played in spring training. It sucks that they have an off day today because I would have loved to see a 1 o'clocker on NBC Sports Philadelphia. You had UFC 259 in play as well. So a lot on the table. Keep in mind the Sixers players did not get to play in the All-Star game, which was disappointing. I thought that All-Star game sucked, to be honest with you. I thought it was brutal. I thought it was bad. I thought it was not entertaining. I was barely engaged, and that's saying a lot because I am normally someone that loves the All-Star game, that loves watching those type of events. I know people hate on it, and it's stupid, and I'm with you. I get why people feel that way. I normally don't, though, and this year I did. This year I did. What a card on Saturday night, says Ryan. Here's my thing, and I think we all understand where I am with the UFC. I thought that maybe it was just insanely overhyped. I thought it was a good card. That was a good card. It was not the card that people made it out to be, though, before it actually happened. You had the brutal kick to the face when Sterling was down. Amanda Nunes was, 7 seconds long? And you should have known that. The betting odds were minus 900 for a reason. But you see 3 title fights available. You see 3 title fights on your card. I just would have thought that it would have been a little better. It was good. It was good. I think the bar was set so high. I think UFC 259 was conversational. It was discussion worthy. There's a lot of storylines that you can take out of it. But in terms of pure entertainment, I don't know if it was like the most entertaining UFC card, to be honest with you. I'll be honest, I barely watched the All-Star game. I had the Flyers game on at 7. I had it. What I ended up doing was I had the Flyers and some other hockey games on the real TV, the TV with the volume. And then off to the side, I had the NBA All-Star game. So I barely watched it, barely paid attention to it. It didn't rock my boat. It didn't tickle my fancy. It didn't get me engaged this year, which is weird because it normally does. Dominic wants to know my thoughts on the Phillies so far. So here's what I'll say about that. I am going to have, and I tweeted this out, and I feel like an ass because I looked at the schedule after I tweeted it, and I said, maybe it makes sense to wait. I'm going to record a Phillies spring training update pod today. So, yes, that is on my list of things to do. I have a calendar over here on my things to do for Brodes Media for the day, and recording a Philly spring training pod is in the works. So make sure that you are staying tuned to the channel and to the podcast because I'm going to give you my thoughts on everyone. McCutchen, Reese, Bryce, Didi, Boom, Knapp, Odubel, Hastley, Quinn, Nola, Wheeler, every bullpen pitcher that's going to change the franchise. Tony Watson, Alvarado was throwing 100 on the gun. Archie Bradley, Connor Brogdon, J.D. Hammer. Oh, J.D. Hammer. That's what I'm talking about. I'm excited. That All-Star game was god-awful. Only thing that was mildly entertaining was the three-point contest. Yeah, I saw Steph Curry make a bunch of them, as we probably should expect. Last year, though, I ripped the rules before we saw it actually happen. And then when we saw, if you remember, last year's All-Star game was fun. Last year's All-Star game was actually pretty damn solid. And this year, it seemed to be a dud. But keep in mind the environment. All-Star games are meant for what? For people to go out there, see what's happening. It's a spectator event. And in a year with the pandemic, to not have that really be in full effect, well, yeah, it's going to be a monster problem to the product that we're watching. What's up, Aiden? What's going on? College basketball is better than the NBA. I don't know. I don't know. I used to think that, and I used to be such a bigger college basketball fan. But I feel the sport of college basketball is declining so much that I don't know if I fully agree with that. Now, March Madness is unbelievable. March Madness is super fun. There's a lot on the table when it comes to that. But I don't think that college basketball in the current form is in its best shape. I don't think it is. And don't give me NBA ratings as a counter, because the people that love to harp on the ratings are very skewed and flawed in their assessment. College football is better than the NFL. See, I disagree, but I also understand that people down south will say that. I think obviously it's very regionalized, and I'm not doubting college football atmospheres. I want to go to an Alabama game versus LSU. I want to go to an Iron Bowl when both teams are ranked within the top 10. I think that is stellar football. I think that is amazing football. I think that's must-watch television, and you got to make sure that you are available to watch that stuff go down. But the product of the NFL is just so significantly better that I can't go with that opinion. But many do. And a lot of people do down south. But when it comes to the product on the field, come on now. What I see on Sundays, even if it's the Miami Dolphins of 2 years ago, or if it's the Cleveland Browns of 5 years ago, it's the NFL. And the NFL is king. The NFL tops all. So I can't ever say that. Off topic, but have you seen the rumor Eagles are looking to trade Brandon Brooks? Yeah, so here's the thing, and I see a couple people bouncing around this question, or not really this question, but just asking about, well, yes, it is a question. I was going to say, just bringing up the fact that Brandon Brooks might be traded. This is sort of what has to happen when you're in cap hell. When you're in cap hell, you are going to have to make tough decisions. If you are going to kick the can down the road for Brandon Brooks, that's scary. Considering age, considering getting beat down, considering the injuries. Now, he seems to be superhuman, and he comes back so quickly, and he comes back at such an elite pace. But when you look at Brandon Brooks, these are the type of decisions you are going to have to make when you are in the cap spot that you are in now. So I don't necessarily disagree with it. This is one of those guys. It's going to hurt. You're gonna be hurt by it. And that's why I can't stand the people that say, well, Howie's going to figure it out. And they say it with this snarky confidence, right? I do understand that he will figure it out, but obviously he has to. He's forced to do it. And when he does figure it out, you don't just praise him for figuring it out, because you are going to be hurt as a team from a skill set standpoint and a leadership standpoint and a veteran presence standpoint. You're going to be hurt by that. So, yeah, sure, he figured it out, but he costed you the second best right guard in football, if not the first best top right guard in football. But it has to happen. Unfortunately, you are in a spot where this shouldn't come as a surprise. This should be a reality. This is what it is. You have to start making some serious financial cuts. And I don't know if you're willing to bet on Brandon Brooks if you're going to kick the can down the road and do some more contract extensions. You're seeing Howie now implement the contract extensions as the offseason here progresses. I don't think you want to do that with Brandon Brooks, considering where he is with his injuries and all, right? I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Ertz trade this week. Talks up. Who gets him? I don't really know who gets him, and quite frankly, I don't care. I just think, all these trades are going to start happening. Ertz is going to be gone. Brandon Brooks is going to be gone. You're going to have to start getting rid of some guys and pushing with this new identity. It sucks. It sucks, but this is where you're at. What is the coffee selection today? Coming in from Evan. So I wanted to switch it up because I knew I'd get this question. And I'm like, all right, I go with Wawa all the time. Wawa hazelnut. I do the McDonald's regular. That was a new thing that I tried, and I liked it. And I still have a bunch of the coffee grounds there. I did caramel coffee cake today. So we're going black coffee, but caramel coffee cake from Dunkin' Donuts. A little sweet, a little, you know what I mean? A little. But it's good. I don't think I can have too much of it. I don't think I can do 5, 6, 7, 8 days in a row of it. But I definitely enjoyed here and there. A nice mix up, a nice change of pace once in a blue moon kind of thing. I have Starbucks vanilla, Dominic. So Dominic chimes in and goes, try Starbucks vanilla. I have a little bit left. Maybe I'll make that one tomorrow if I remember. Maybe I'll write it down on my calendar of things to do. But I have the vanilla, Starbucks vanilla. It's amazing. But that's something, too, where if I have too much of it too constantly, I need a break. And that's what happened. I think I loved it so much in the beginning that I drank it way too much. And then it's, whoa, I need a little bit of a break. A little bit of a break. Thoughts on the barber show conspiracy? What does that mean? What is the barber show conspiracy? Kind of stoned, okay? But what are the biggest event from UFC? What do you mean? What is the biggest event from UFC? Are you asking what the biggest fight was in that? I mean, it's got to be Adesanya, right? He ends up moving up in weight class, and he's not able to handle the 4th and 5th rounds because of the size difference. Are you asking what the biggest topic is? Well, it's that and the fact that you got guys when their knees down and their corners telling them to do something, bang, knees him in the face. Sterling went down, and I don't disagree with calling the fight or anything. That was pure ridiculous. That's what it was. Wawa dark roast with a little French vanilla. I'm not a big dark roast guy. I like all coffee, and I'll drink the coffee, but I'm not a big fan of it. It's not one of my go-tos. If anything, if I'm going a little French vanilla creamer at Wawa, I'm probably getting French vanilla coffee or a regular coffee. We have the 5th easiest record for the Sixers. Can you clarify a little more? What does that mean? The dunk contest was a joke. Yeah, look, nowadays, you're lucky if you get a big-time dunk competition. What was the one? Zach LaVine and who did Zach LaVine go up against with that epic? Aaron Gordon. That's who it was. Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon. That doesn't come around very often in today's era of the dunk contest. And the fact that you're getting some of these no-names out there doing it, I know that's where we're at. I know that's what it is, but yeah, you're not going to – if your expectations are to get this wild dunk competition, I just don't think that that's where it is anymore based off of who's doing it. And look, these guys have hops. These guys have some nice moves, but it's You're lucky if you get a solid, successful, legit, insane one. Oh, the second half schedule for the Sixers. Yeah, there's some tough rides, too. I've been over this before, and we'll kind of look through the schedule. There is this brutal road trip that they got to go on it's a big test. So they come back with the Bulls on Thursday with a back-to-back against the Wizards, who were playing some nice basketball before the season stopped for the All-Star break. They have this stretch on the road of No, this isn't it, but this is a pretty tough one with the Warriors, the Lakers, and the Clippers. But there is one where okay. Never mind. Excuse me. The road games are in Milwaukee, but prior to that, it's Brooklyn at home. It's the Clippers at home, the Warriors at home, the Suns at home, and then you have the Bucks in Milwaukee and the Bucks in Milwaukee. So that's a pretty tough stretch. Brooklyn, Clippers, Warriors, Suns, all at home. Bucks on the road. So that is a pretty tough stretch. That's in April, mid-April. That's going to be telling. That's a hey, let me see a little bit about this team type of stretch, right? It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a battle, and we'll see how the team responds. How far can the Phillies go? How far can the Phillies go? I think their ceiling is a wild card team. The last wild card team. That's their ceiling for me. Grant, this is a common question that a lot of Sixers fans are throwing around right now. Bro, do you think Daryl Morey makes a big trade move before the deadline? And if so, who do you see us getting in a trade? I mean, there's so much speculation. There were ties to PJ Tucker, which is someone that would help out the stretch four. There was a report this weekend by not a respected source about Zach LaVine and the Sixers being tied to Zach LaVine. But it's one of those Twitter accounts that say, oh, look, I was right about Kevin Durant 3 years ago, and they have that pinned to the top of their profile, yet they were wrong about 30 other things they tweeted out beforehand. So I'm personally not putting a lot of stock into some of these reports about Zach LaVine, unless there have been more that I have missed out on. But I don't think that. Yeah, look, let's see who this. I'm looking at this report, and I want to see who they. Yeah, so everyone who's talking about it is using the same person as the source. So I'm not putting a lot of stock into it, but we'll see. That doesn't mean that it's 100% out of the question. I don't see a way that you can get Zach LaVine without giving anything up significantly. And I don't think that the Sixers are giving up Ben Simmons for Zach LaVine. So if that's the case, I don't know how they do it unless they stockpile a ton of picks and do this and do that. I don't see it happening. We'll see. In terms of big trade, I don't know if they're going to go big trade. I think the biggest trade you'll see out of the Sixers, and it is a decent size trade, not huge though, is Kyle Lowry. I think a big trade move, the biggest you'll see, it could be Kyle Lowry. I don't think it's going to be much more than that, no matter what some people are throwing around there on Twitter. I was at the Flyers game Saturday in Pittsburgh, and last night it sucked seeing our teams lose the ways that they did. Yeah, the Flyers are in a bit of a tough spot right now, coming off of back-to-back losses. Now, they don't do that normally. This is not standard. This is not the norm. Under Alain Vigneault, they've done a good job of bouncing back. They've done a good job of being able to bounce back on their toes. Well, this is a tough stretch for them, and it looks like they're in a weak spot. The Penguins are winning games. The Islanders are up at the top. But I put the Islanders a little bit above the Penguins, a little bit above the Flyers, but I don't think the Islanders are on the same page of the Boston Bruins, the Washington Capitals, no matter what the standings say. And some of those teams have more games played. The Islanders have more games played, so their point total is going to be higher. The Islanders are a good team. I just don't put them at that top, tippy top like a Boston Bruins or a Washington Capitals. The Flyers need to figure it out. All right, they do. This is not good enough. And tired is not an excuse. There are some out there going with, look, they're tired. So what? So what? Am I supposed to be okay that they're tired? Am I supposed to be willing to accept losing hockey because they're tired? No. You know who else is tired? The Pittsburgh Penguins. Do you know who else is tired? The Washington Capitals. Do you know who's missing one of their top players? The Washington Capitals. Sorry. To act as if the Flyers are where they are right now only because of, oh, they're tired, that's unacceptable to me. That's giving them an excuse. I'm not giving them an excuse. I will not give them an excuse. Be better. You could be better than what you're giving me. Oh, Blake Griffin. Yeah, so who's bringing up Blake Griffin about the Brooklyn Nets? So there's this fascination with Blake Griffin as if he's a stud, as if he could play. Blake Griffin's a stiff. All right, Blake Griffin is not a player anymore. Blake Griffin is a bum. Blake Griffin is not very good. That's my assessment on Blake Griffin. His role is not going to be big. He's not going to be this guy that goes in there and he has to score you a bunch of points, this and that. Now, he might have a game or two where he ends up having some points or whatever. But this Blake Griffin signing to me, Blake Griffin is a wash of himself. He is seriously 5% of what Blake Griffin was 3 years ago. He's beat down. He's broken down. Stop with this Blake Griffin nonsense as if this is like, whoa, they're getting a guy who scores 30 points a night. No, you know what? He scores 6 points a night, 7 points a night. That's what Blake Griffin is. That's what Blake Griffin is. Let's see what Blake Griffin's stats were this year. And I know it wasn't good. He averaged 12 points, whoop-de-doo, in his 32 minutes. He won't have that much time to play, so that means clearly he's going to lose that power. He averaged 25 points per game 2 years ago when he was an All-Star. He's shooting 31% from three. Last year, he was shooting 24% from three, and that was after that amazing season where he was an All-Star, shooting 36% from three. You're just not getting this huge difference maker. If you're thinking about a team that's very thin, sure, I get it. If you're looking from just a Brooklyn Nets perspective, very thin, they get a bench player, a guy who once was an All-Star, it's not a bad pickup. Let's start over here. It's not a bad pickup if you're the Brooklyn Nets. It makes sense if you're the Brooklyn Nets, and it will help your team. I'm not saying it won't help your team, but I do think that people are looking at Blake Griffin as if he is this player that is out of control, fantastic, elite, and that's not who he is anymore. He's going to be a bench player coming off of the bench as a big man, a 5-position type of guy, and he's going to give you a handful of minutes, and that's about it. That's about it. Yeah, 24% from 3 last season, but he only played 18 games because he was hurt. And the 2 years ago, 58 games, 61 games, 35 games. The guy's been banged up constantly. So why all of a sudden, and maybe, you know what, maybe he does stay healthy. Why? Because he's going to be playing 10 minutes a night. And compared to playing 34, 34, 33, 31, there's less time to get hurt. There's less time to get hurt. Thoughts on Zack Wheeler's performance yesterday? I thought he battled in the first. Well, he got DJ LeMahieu swinging in that first at-bat, which was nice. And then on Aaron Judge, he struck him out, and the umpire was smoking crack and missed it. So, unfortunately, we ended up getting out Aaron Judge anyway with a ground ball. So, it's not like that really hurt him. But there were some missed calls with the third at-bat, and then here's a grand salami by Brett Gardner. I thought he showed spring training form, and that's okay. Right? Joe Girardi said it best. You can't hurt your stock in spring training because it's very circumstantial, but there is a way to gain a lot from it. And not that Zack Wheeler's in one of those positions. We're talking different players, bottom of the roster type guys. For Zack Wheeler, you know where he is. And I just think it's a part of spring training, right? Everyone's going to have those hiccups here. Look, he was pounding fastballs, was he not? Fastball, trying to just shred the fastball by guys. I think the Yankees figured that out pretty early, that, hey, he's just trying to command his fastball, just trying to throw the ball hard. And that's what happens in spring training at times when you're only working in 1 or 2 pitches to try and get yourself going and fully throwing full form. Well, hitters are going to pounce on that. Here for UFC 259. Fuck the Phils. Hey, come on, Pat. We can't be doing that. He spelled fuck with PH, by the way, as if he's going Phillies on us. Now, why? Why? You're anti-baseball. But UFC 259. All right, let's talk about it then. What is your thoughts on UFC 259? My thoughts is good card, overhyped card, conversational card. Lots to talk about. Not the most entertaining in the world, but it was good. It was good. It wasn't awful. It wasn't bad. It was a good card. The expectations with 3 title fights, though, I think made it a little bit more, hey, this is going to be sick. It was okay. It was good. It was all right. But the expectations were so high. First off, you get a disqualification in there, which, once again, topic. It's a conversation piece. It makes it, I was going to say debatable, but it ain't debatable. No one's ever taken the other side of this with, who was it, Jan? But, yeah, it was overhyped for sure. Like Nunes, for example. The fact that, and it's not her fault, right? It's not her fault, but, wait, no. Who got, who was, I'm looking up I thought UFC was dominated, and then I started watching it, and I realized, no, it's not dumb. It's actually very entertaining. Yeah, it was Peter Yang who kicked Sterling and kicked him right in the. What are you doing, dude? Like, how dumb can you possibly be? But with the Amanda Nunes thing, the fact that on the main card, and I get she's a draw because she's unbelievable, but if you're on the main card and you're the co-main event and you're minus 900, it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing. That lasted 1 minute, 30 seconds long. It just shouldn't be a thing, right? It should not be a thing. It's not her fault. She's so dominant. She's unbelievable. I know she is. I know she's too good. And I know they want to. She beat, who's the one? Look, I'm still learning some UFC fighters and all, but she fought someone twice already, and the trilogy would probably be her best fight, but she's going to win it anyway. I get it. There's not much there. Is this and I asked this question legitimately because I'm new to this. Is she that good, or is the talent in her weight class and in women's UFC so weak that she has no contest? Like, could it be a mixture of both, that there's no competition in her weight class and she's that good? But, like, you're telling me that she's minus 900. There's no one even close to even give her any sort of relative decent fight at all. Not even close. Like, I don't think that there's enough power in her weight class. But that's a problem. There's a problem there, in my opinion. There's got to be something here. Like, there's no way that there's got to be a middle ground where there's someone that, I don't know. There's no way that she's that dominant, but I think it's a weight class that just has no relevance to her. So it's a mixture of both. There's a mixture of both. There's some really entertaining women fights, though, Green. It's not as if it's, hey, there's no such thing as good women fighting. No, there is some good women fighting. But I just think that when you look at this, there's no way that minus 900 in the title fight, like, it's ridiculous to me. It's ridiculous to me. And I enjoyed it, though. I thoroughly enjoyed domination. Who's the one guy who started out in I think it was the second fight of the main card, Islam? He was unbelievable. He was just grappling. I mean, it reminded me, even looked like him too, a little bit of a Habib. He was unreal. That's domination. I love that. And I love that Nunes is dominant. I love that. But come on, right? At the same time, come on. But yeah, Islam was unbelievable. Now, to me, when you talk about enjoying UFC, that's what I love. I love something like Islam, Habib, where they take you to the ground. Good luck. Good luck trying to find a way to get off the mat. Good luck figuring a way to get out of anything that he does. And when you do, there's a counter. I mean, it's amazing. The grappling game, I love watching people try and maneuver out of some of these spots where they're in the middle of the mat and they can't use the octagon or the cage to get leverage, to get off backside, and they're stuck. Like, I love that stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, but if Nunes had any sort of competition, I don't think you look at her the same way. And I like her. She is dominant. But there's zero competition. That's my problem. That's my problem with it. So I love domination. I don't want to make it seem like I'm anti-Nunes, but there is a bit of me that thinks, come on. Come on. Like, there's got to be an issue here, right? Let's see. Sixers will beat the Nets. In what? Sixers will beat the Nets what? In a regular season game or in a 7-game series? Where are we here? Thoughts on the Brandon Brooks rumors? I think that here we are in a spot where you're going to have to start making tough decisions. And with Brandon Brooks, here's your decisions. Someone just put in the chat, Brodes versus Nunes. No, thank you. She'd kick my ass. She'd kick my ass within 1 minute. But thoughts on Brandon Brooks rumors? You're in a position now where you got to start making decisions. Do you want to kick the can down the road and start restructuring some of these deals? Or are you going to have to, some of these guys, you can't do that. Some of these guys, you can't take that risk. And with Brandon Brooks, you're not going to be able to take that risk, apparently, according to the Eagles. But this is a tough move you're going to have to make. Ethan wants to know, is Nolan Patrick a bust? Yes. Nolan Patrick is bad. Nolan Patrick is not good. But at the time, that's where he was. I don't think the Flyers reached. Look, this isn't the NBA, right? So it's not as if, okay, Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram. It doesn't work that way. It's different. You go play junior. You got to develop. None of these guys, except for maybe one or two, come in and play right away. So hockey is different when it comes to drafting very high. With Nolan Patrick, if you remember at the time, he was about a second-round pick, or second overall pick. That's who he was. That's where his draft stock was. And unfortunately, other guys stepped in and were fantastic players. Cale Makar is playing college hockey, right? So it's not the same thing. He goes and plays college. Then he steps in, and it's a totally different role. Oh, but is he a bust? Yeah, the guy stinks. The guy's not good. He's a bottom 6 forward. Nolan Patrick is a bottom 6 forward that you took with the second overall pick. Hindsight, sure. Pedersen looks to be a stud. And Suzuki, I love Suzuki. Up in Montreal, he seems to be a great player. But if you go back at the time of the draft, Nolan Patrick wasn't at the time a bad pick. He just hasn't played out to what he was supposed to be. But at the time of the draft, Nolan Patrick was in that category. They were even questioning, if I remember correctly, if he was going to go 1, if the Devils would take him at 1. So, yeah, some of these players, their draft status is what it is, and then they come up and they're not that player. Unfortunately for the Flyers, they get a little bonus by sneaking into the 2nd overall pick that year, and Nolan Patrick is the guy on the board, unfortunately. Well, I think it's a problem if one person is clear. Like, that would never happen in any other division, right? That would never happen in a... Is there ever a men's division that no one even wants to fight the guy anymore? No. They want that title shot. They want to take on the guy. They might lose. Like, there's been guys who have been dominant in a weight class, and they are unreal, and they are tough to beat, and they don't lose. Adesanya hasn't lost. Like, there's guys who don't... Obviously, he lost this weekend, but he moved up in weight class. But there are people who are so dominant, but people want that shot. People want to go after them. It tells me a lot that no one wants to fight her because no one thinks that they're good enough, which means the competition level is watered down. These fighters who won a shot at a title fight against someone who is so dominant in men's, they feel like they can go out and beat them. They might not, but do you understand? Like, the approach to it is flawed. The approach to fighting Nunes is flawed. And I don't think it's just because of how dominant she is. I think it's also because it's a lack of talent, a lack of confidence, a lack of swag. Well, that doesn't happen in any of these other divisions. And I don't think it's just because of her. I think it's also because of where the division is, or the weight class is. Trade Nolan Patrick. I would absolutely trade Nolan Patrick. There's nothing in my mind that thinks that I would hold on to him, that I would want to stay with him. I think he's a bottom 6 guy at this point. And there was a time where I was excited about him being a third-line center, and that shows what type of depth you have. But he's just not it, man. Nolan Patrick is not. I don't think Oscar Lindblom is a very good player. And I even said that prior to his season last year. I'm like, who's Oscar Lindblom, really? And obviously, I know what he went through. And I think we all understand what he went through. And but other than, I'm talking pure hockey standpoint. Pure hockey standpoint. When he came in with the Flyers, I didn't see what they saw. And 2 years ago, it was 2 years ago that he had the 17 goals in 33 games. He was -9 in 81 games. Last year, 30 games, 11 goals. That was a nice season for him as well because of the shortened season. But I just didn't see it. Like 33 points in 81 games. That's an okay player. It's an okay guy, but he's not like you got Oscar Lindblom. And right now in 20 games, he's got 2 goals. All right, like he's just a guy. He's just a guy, and I don't know what you can do if your third line are just guys nowadays. You got to have lines that you can roll. You got to have guys that have a little bit more pop to them. And yes, every team has guys. Not every team, 100%. Every team does not have 4 lines of star players. Your bottom 6 players are going to be guys, but you can have better guys than what the Flyers have. And I think that is the difference, along with your defense and your core there. But Oscar Lindblom, Nolan Patrick, these players have to step up. When Oscar Lindblom was more than just a guy, the team was playing better hockey. Now, I've seen it. Is it fair for me to expect that out of him if I don't think that's who he is? Not necessarily. I don't think he's an 11. Look, he was on pace for, if you played 82, he played 30 games last year. And keep in mind, everything that happened is obviously big with him. So I feel bad discussing his flaws, but it is a part of him at this point of the hockey side of things. He was on pace for about 25 goals. Is he a 25-goal scorer? No, I don't think so. Can you agree that the Flyers are not a playoff team? Or wait. Tyler, are you talking about the Flyers? Because when you say at least not a finals team, that makes me think you're talking Sixers. And that would be ridiculous if you're saying, can you agree that we aren't a playoff team? So please tell me that this is about the Flyers, right? I need a verification before we continue with this conversation. Because 2 totally different debates that we are about to have. Yeah, see, Aiden's also chiming in about the Flyers. Okay, so Tyler's talking about the Flyers. Aiden's talking about the Flyers. They're in a tough spot right now. If you go to the standings, they're in 5th place. Now, when I say tough, I'm not going to make it seem like, hey, there's 5 games to go and they need 4 points to catch up. No, they have 22 games played. Islanders have 25. Washington has 24. Pittsburgh has 24. So they have games in hand, which is very big. But they need to figure this thing out. Like Pittsburgh, they should, as much as we look at the Flyers as a flawed team, the Penguins are a flawed team, and they're 14-9-1. The Islanders are a flawed team, and they're 15-6-4. Now, the Islanders are a team that gets it done in the regular season, but then you can question what they do in the postseason. Although, dude, that Barzal goal was filthy and disgusting. It was so good. It was so lethal. It made me go, ah! When I saw it. It was insane. But they're missing something. They are a flawed team every year. Can they get it done? Do they have a big enough star? Yes, in Barzal they do. But do they have enough supporting cast, or is it just a product of Barry Trotz? And I think Barry Trotz's scheme gets you far, but you need help. You need players. I don't know if they have the full set of players that they're looking for. The Flyers need to figure it out. It's not full panic mode yet because they don't lose a lot of back-to-back games, so this is rare for them. But it's time to put the foot on the gas. The season is 56 games long. They're 22 games in. We're moving into the halfway mark. Let's go. Let's go. So it's time to pick it up. Is this who they are, this 3-game stretch? I don't know. Maybe. I tend to think they're a little bit better than this, though. I'm not going to tell you they're elite. I'm going to tell you they're better than what they've been giving you. So if they're better than what they've been giving you, could they make it into that 4th, 3rd spot? I think they can. I think they can. Now, I don't think that they're going to be this crazy team in the playoffs by any means, but I do think that they're a playoff team. With their flaws, I think they're a playoff team. I'm not telling you a great playoff team. I'm telling you the 4th spot. 4th spot. But they're a playoff team. Get in the playoffs. You can't go from where you were last year, Game 7, 2nd round, to this. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I saw some guy freaking out that Alain Vigneault lost his message already. Could you believe it? Idiots out there. There's not that that's surprising. We understand the world, but there are idiots out there. Well, that's awkward. As I took that sip, the lid has like a little slot thing, and sometimes when I dump it back to pour it in my mouth, it closes, and then I'm drinking nothing. Flyers need to trade for a defenseman. Yes, they do. Everyone, because Jake here is asking, who would I like to see them trade for? We're all bringing up the same names, right? Ekholm is one of them. Ekholm's the one that stands out the most to me, to be honest with you. Well, look, so we have people frustrated about Brandon Brooks. What about Brandon Brooks, Brodes? If Howie trades Brooks, I'm done. Why? This is something that you should have known is going to happen. You have to make veteran decisions. You are in cap problems. You need to get rid of guys. It's either that or sign into an extension, rework the contract, do this, push the can down the road, and then you're talking about a guy who constantly gets injured. You can make an argument that this is a great move. And I've been saying that about this line. This line is old. Why are we putting every year now? Brandon Brooks is injured, and he got hurt. He's 3 serious injuries. Lane Johnson, banged up. Jason Kelsey, he's hanging in there. Old. You're getting old. You're getting old. You're getting old. At some point, this line needs to get younger. To put all this stock into Brandon Brooks, I'm okay with not doing that. I really am. I'm okay with not putting a lot of stock into Brandon Brooks, trading him, moving on. This line is old. You gotta get younger. You are in a spot where you need to retool this thing. This is a move that helps retool the offensive line where you can get younger. Yeah, and you're in cap hell, so you're going to have to make a tough decision. You're going to have to make multiple tough decisions. This is one of them, and I don't necessarily disagree with the move. I don't. Pags with the $10 donation. Love the hockey talk. Coffee with Brodes mug came in. Officially enjoying coffee with Brodes. With Brodes. I love it, dude. That's amazing. How about, can you tweet me at Brodes81? Tweet me a picture of the Coffee with Brodes mug. I'd love to retweet it for the people because it's a fine item. The problem is I can't utilize it. Thank you so much, by the way, Pags, for the $10 donation. You're amazing. You really are. Well, the problem is with these mugs, and here's another one over here that has no coffee in it, but the problem is if I do an hour show with a mug like that, it ends up getting too cold on me, and I need to microwave my coffee 3,000 times. So that is not something that I can do. But thank you so much for the $10 donation. Tweet a picture of it. I definitely want to see it. I'll retweet it, and I'll throw it up on my Twitter feed right now, actually, at Brodes81. All right, where are we? Do I like Archie Bradley? Sure. You had the worst historic bullpen last year, second worst. So, of course, someone like Archie Bradley is going to be – you're old man, you don't have Twitter? Come on, dude. You got to get Twitter. Get a Twitter. Twitter's big. If you're a sports guy, which you clearly are, Twitter's the place to be, man. You got to follow up with what's happening. Get a Twitter. I demand it. What are my thoughts on Travis Konechny? I think he's snake bitten. I think he's hitting the pipe 3,000 times, but he's got to be better, right? He's a guy who we leaned on heavily last year throughout the regular season. Then what happened? He had a poor postseason, and he hasn't really been able to bend himself since. He's getting chances. There's no denying that he is getting opportunities, but he's not burying. So what do I look at? Do I look at it and say, well, at least he's getting chances? Or do I say, dude, I don't care how many chances you're getting? Sort of like my power play mindset. I don't care that you're getting good shots. You're supposed to get good shots. It's about scoring on the power play. How about that? How about actually putting the puck in the net? So with Travis Konechny, it's the same thing. All right, am I supposed to be happy that one of your best goal scorers creating chances, or do I have to force him, or do I have to demand him to score? I think I got to demand him to actually score. He's hitting the pipe. He's getting frustrated. I think once he buries one, though, the floodgates will open. Once he scores once he gets on the board again, then things start to really snowball, and then you'll be going. Eagles will trade Trey Lance. I don't think that that's a reality. I don't. I'm pretty sure all the guys who are penciled into the bullpen have some scoreless innings. Yeah, a lot of the guys in the Phillies bullpen have been playing really good baseball in spring training so far. And I kind of mentioned this from the top of the show here, Coffee with Brodes. What is on the schedule today for Brodes Media? Well, I will be recording a Phillies podcast, a spring training pod, talking about everyone. I want to dive deep into everyone who has performed to this point of significance, talk about the bullpen, and really dive deep into their first week of spring training. I was supposed to do it over the weekend, and I tweeted it out on Friday. Hey, be ready. We're going to talk Phillies baseball this weekend. Then I looked at the schedule. Probably should have looked at the schedule first, but I looked at the schedule and recognized that they had an off day on Monday. So the best thing to do would be allow them to play on Sunday, 1 o'clock against the Yankees, which it was not a doozy by any means. It was a dud. Zack Wheeler allowed a grand salami, not much offense involved. Saw some good things out of J.D. Hammer and some other bullpen pieces. But I figured with Monday being the off day, why not throw something out there on Monday? So we are going to do a Phillies podcast today. That is on the schedule. Can we get a Sixers update pod? Well, they've been on a little bit of a break here, right? So I don't, is there some, look, I'm going to talk Sixers before Thursday. That's for damn sure. There's no doubt that before Thursday we'll have more Sixers, but as of the Sixers right now, I don't really know what a big storyline is other than they didn't play in the All-Star game, but I don't know if that's a 30-minute pod-worthy thing. They're on a hiatus right now, right? Yeah, I mean, what are we going to talk about for 30 minutes that Joel and Ben didn't play in the All-Star game and the All-Star game stunk? My uncle said we should bring back Brandon Workman. Brandon Workman got himself a deal with the Chicago Cubs. Tell him to watch the Cubs if that's what he wants to do. If he wants to watch some poor baseball and some bad bullpen play. Although, look, he's going to bounce back and have a year that he had out in Boston would be my guess. He's going to go out, have a good season, have a nice ERA. Some of these pitchers that we saw as a disaster last year, they're going to find a way in a new place to have a decent year. But that's how bullpen pitching works, right? One year they're fantastic, one year they're elite, and the next year they fall off and they look bad, and then they have an average year, then they have a great year, then they have an average year, then they have a tough year. It's all up and down, and they go through all sorts of ups and downs. But to get back to the Sixers thing, I will have a Sixers pod before Thursday. I have something in my head, so I'm just keeping it in my mind, and you guys will see what it is as we move forward here. But to act as if there's like a jumping amount of Sixers content right now, look, they're on All-Star break, right? They're on All-Star break. The Flyers fans should be booing. Fans paid $200 for their tickets now. Yeah, the prices are a little extreme for sure. I liked hearing it, though. The refs use suck chants were out there. The boos on the power play. That was nice to hear as well. The boos are hilarious to me because the power play stinks. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. What a Monday morning. Normally, I get my day going after coffee with Brodes. Like, I'll wake up at around 8:50. I'll make the coffee. I'll run downstairs in my sweatpants that I wore, like that's on the side of my bed. I'll throw the sweats on. I'll hop in, drink my coffee, and then shower, eat my breakfast, get ready. This Monday was a little different. I had a little sense of urgency, a little pep in the step. Woke up around 8, got a nice hot shower, right? Put in the half samurai, the bun here, the high bun. I got after it this Monday morning a little bit. I don't know. This Monday morning felt a little different. I don't know if anyone cares, but that's me just telling you I normally roll out of bed, and this week this morning I didn't roll out of bed. Yeah, look, the Adesanya fight, I thought I didn't know what to really fully expect. I thought Adesanya did a good job at look, he jumped up in weight class, right? And I think the weight in rounds 4 and 5 played a big difference. You saw when he was taken to the ground that he couldn't maneuver out of it the way that he could in his normal weight class, and that is because of how it's built and all, and how his opponent was built. But I thought in terms of going in there, going up against someone who was a bigger in size, I thought he held his own. He threw some nice strikes. He got some good punches landed. But I think what happened probably should have happened, and he held his ground. He did as much as he could. I give him a lot of props, and I think if he gets another chance now that he experienced that weight class, maybe he does things differently. He makes adjustments, but it was a very professional fight with those two in the octagon. It was like a good, methodical fight. I thought that was game planned very well. I thought it was a good, pure fight. And Adesanya just experienced a guy that has more weight to him and a true pro, too. Like, I think that is big for him as well. But I don't look at Adesanya any differently. I don't know if many are. I think circumstances tell you what it is. The guy moved up in weight class, and I think if he does it again, he'll make an adjustment on what he does. You're losing hair at age 18? Well, look, I mean, there's plenty of products out there these days that can help you out, for sure. A lot of these shampoo products, a lot of, look, the toupees these days, you can't even tell. Just saying. All right, so this is good. I like this comment here as I readjust myself. So Mike says, and this is where you get too reactionary. And I'm not high on the Flyers right now. They have not been playing good hockey. But this is the comment from Mike. If the Flyers lose tomorrow, I will lose all hope. Now, that's too much. That's going way too extreme. I get it. The Sabres stink, and I'm with you. It wouldn't be a good look. But there are plenty teams that, like, here's my thing. If the Flyers lose 3 in a row, and they lose to Pittsburgh, then they lose to Washington, and they lose to Buffalo, which would be such a disappointing loss, I'm with you. But if they go through a 6-game win streak a week from now, do you even remember the 3-game losing streak? No, you don't. And I'm just saying that in a regular season, there are ups and downs. There are 3-game skids. There are 5-game winning streaks. There are 5-game losing streaks. There are 7-game point streaks. There might be a game where you lose in overtime, but maybe in 8 games you record a point, you register a point. But there will be a 3-game losing skid. I'm not going to say I'm going to lose all hope. Will I be happy? Absolutely not. Will I be frustrated? For sure. Will I be disappointed? No doubt about it. I'll be screaming here on the post-game podcast. So I will be upset with what I see. But to say that, I'll lose all hope, they won't be a playoff team, this and that. They go on a 5-game winning streak a week or two from now. You don't even remember this. It's like when the Sixers lose to the Cavs. Oh, they stink. But then they beat the Mavs, and Ben Simmons shuts down Luka. Now everyone thinks that they're a championship-winning team again. So I understand the ups and downs of a regular season. So when I see something that's bad, I know this Flyers team's not great. So a part of the skid would be they're flat out not good. And they have some issues and they have some flaws. And when I say they're flat out not good, they're not good enough. There's problems there when we're talking about Stanley Cup type of team. But a team that is where the Flyers are, that have holes defensively, but they have good goaltending and they have a decent set of forwards, I should say. I'd say above average. They have an above average set of forwards. They can still win games. Right? Can still win games. How about your boy Johnny Hockey to the Flyers? There's some contract stuff that you got to note. It's a trade clause to only certain teams. No, there's a lot in play, so I don't know what's going to happen there, to be honest with you. Do I think the Sixers have a shot at championship, even though Blake Griffin agreed with the Nets? Does anyone look at Blake Griffin to the Nets and is now insanely more concerned than they were before? Because I don't. I'm at the same level of concern as I was before Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin is a shell of himself. Blake Griffin is not that great. Blake Griffin is just eh. Now to the Nets, you have a problem. Or to the Nets, you have a problem. I just combined two thoughts. To the Nets, it is a big deal because their problem was the fact that they were so thin on their bench. So it helps out a fact that you have a thin bench. With that being said, Blake Griffin stinks. Blake Griffin is not good. He'll be an okay bench guy. All right, he's a bench guy. He's a bench guy. He's not an all-star anymore. I think the name Blake Griffin is a name that people react to. Blake Griffin. It's a big name. It's a sexy name. He's not that player anymore. He's going to give you 10 minutes. What's he going to do in those 10 minutes? Well, considering he shoots 31% from three and he's constantly banged up, maybe 5 points? Come on. The question is, was he playing himself out of Detroit on purpose? I think he stinks. No, I don't think he was playing himself out of Detroit. I think he stinks so much, they didn't want him in Detroit. My man was making like $38 million a year. Imagine making that much money, scoring 12 points per game. That's an embarrassment. I'd rather have Furkan Korkmaz than Blake Griffin with that contract. Seriously. That's what it is. I'd rather have Furkan Korkmaz than Blake Griffin playing on that contract any day of the week. Blake Griffin was a stiff. You know why I'm afraid of the Brooklyn Nets? I'll tell you why. James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. Here you go. Let's put it in perspective. Does anybody believe that someone looks at the Sixers and says this? You know why I'm afraid of the Sixers? Shake Milton. Do you know why I'm afraid of the Sixers? Matisse Thybulle coming off the bench. Anyone? I'll tell you for free. No. Nope. That's my point. You don't look at the Nets and go, Blake Griffin, now I'm scared. Why? The guy's a backup big man. Guy's a backup player. And if they want to start him, good luck. No. Oh, man. Brodes, did you hear Ben and Joel can miss a game? Yeah, I saw that. But I also heard Doc Rivers talk about how their testing has been coming back negative. So as long as it continues to come back negative, they will be hopefully okay for Thursday's game when they return against the Chicago Bulls. All Blake can do is dunk. No, that's 7 years ago. 7 years ago, all Blake can do is dunk. That hasn't been the version of Blake Griffin in quite some time. Now he's just a banged-up player. But 2 years ago, he was an all-star that was shooting a decent clip from three. He put the ball in his hands. He was running point. He was like a point center, a point big man at the top of the perimeter. He's not all dunk anymore. That was 10 years ago version of Blake Griffin. We've been over this a bunch of times, Legacy. If the Sixers trade for Kyle Lowry, it's going to take 6 bench pieces. It's going to take Danny Green, which is a starter, but it'll take Danny Green, Mike Scott, Poirier, It'll take a lot of guys just to match the salary, and then you have to give them something of significance that they would even want, because they don't want all these expiring contracts for a lot of money. They want a young player and some draft picks that would help. So just to get the money to be equal, you'd have to give up a lot of players, and then it's about the added bonus. So it's going to take a lot to get Kyle Lowry, to answer your question. Yeah, Blake isn't a junk kind of guy at all. He's the complete opposite at this point in his career. Getting a little hot in here. I'm trying to look at the thermostat because it's getting a little toasty. What trade did the Flyers make? Ekholm or Forsberg? I just feel the Ekholm trade is constantly being thrown out there, that I'm fatigued by it, and I don't know if it's going to be real. Like maybe Chuck Fletcher's making a different choice. And I heard this from a commenter. Hold on, I need a little sip of coffee here. It's been too long. Lowry could be worth it. He could also not be, right? I mean, yeah, he averages 18 and 6, and he's a nice player, but you're also hurt. You want to, because I bet you're the same person that crushes the Brooklyn Nets for having no depth. Your depth already kind of stinks if you're the Sixers. Now you would have, let's say, Matisse Thybulle and Dwight Howard as your 6 and 7 guy. Imagine that. Imagine having 6 and 7 be Matisse and Dwight Howard if you had to give up Shake Milton. Tyrese Maxey ain't ready. He ain't going to step in and be that guy. So your bench would stink. Your bench would flat out be horrendous. Your starting 5 would get better, but if you're going to rip the Brooklyn Nets for having such a lethal starting 5, which is still better than your starting 5 with Lowry, and they have no bench, well, then what are you saying about the Sixers as well? But going back to the Flyers, I saw something someone mentioned with Chuck Fletcher about he's being too much of a wuss because of the expansion draft. And I think that that's crazy. A good GM would think about the expansion draft. As a fan, you might not care, but you will when the time comes around because you're not in the moment. You're worried about right now. And people think that you could fix everything right now. You can't fix everything right now. You have some problems. You need help offensively. You need help defensively. You need help with your special teams. I don't know if you could fix that all in one trade deadline. And to think that it doesn't matter that someone can come in and pluck away your players at the end of next season, that's a problem. So to act as if Chuck Fletcher shouldn't be concerned about the expansion draft, well, then that's asinine. A good GM would. A good GM should. No doubt. Hypothetical, we trade for Lowry. Do you see him locking down Kyrie in the playoffs? No, I think your matchup would be... Because what I think would happen right now would be Ben Simmons on KD, Danny Green on James Harden, which you've seen before in the regular season for a half, and it actually was okay. I'm not saying it would be every night by any means. And Seth Curry on Kyrie. That's probably something that you would get to start. And if things go wrong, then things would change. So I think maybe as the comment comes in here, Lowry on Harden. I would probably imagine so because I want Seth Curry on Harden. I'd rather put, well, let's see. James Harden is, I'm just looking at size here. James Harden is 6'5", and Kyle Lowry is obviously a smaller guy. I just don't know exactly off the top of my head how tall he is. He's 6 foot. So that's a difference, right? That's a difference, but that's probably your best bet. And that's the problem with being it. No, it's not as if there's teams that are built to guard this type of firepower. It's not easy to guard this type of firepower, but that's probably what you would do. And you throw Matisse Thybulle in there. Now, he can't start for you because you lose a lot offensively. You can't throw him out there for a long time because you're not going to be able to score. But I think you'd go Ben on KD. You would go Lowry on James Harden, and you would go Seth Curry on Kyrie. That's what I would do to start. And if that doesn't work, then I would change things around. I'm not saying I'm committed to that forever. I'm not saying I'm fully 100% in on that. But that's something that I would try in the beginning. And if it works, then it works. And if it doesn't, then we'll make that adjustment. Do I think that the Sixers finish as the 1 seed? I don't. I think I see them as a 2 seed. I think they'll be a 2 seed. That's what I think. I think they'll be more of a 2 seed, which is fine, which is not a bad thing at all. God damn it with this stupid lid. Why do they make you this way? Hear me out and beat on KD. I think you'll see some unique stuff. Look, it's the NBA playoffs. You see different things. You see wild things. I won't even be surprised if there's a stretch where you see Dwight and Joel Embiid out there for a little bit of Twin Towers. And I know you might be thinking, what? You're ridiculous. That will never happen. It's the playoffs. If you see something that's beating you and you got to make an adjustment and you got to throw the other team off guard, I'm not saying a long period of time, but let's say it's 3 minutes long. 3 minutes of gameplay where you get Dwight and Joel out there for a Twin Tower look. I wouldn't be surprised. I think you're going to see some wonky stuff. If you see him beat on KD for a possession or two, for a couple possessions, I wouldn't be surprised. If it's something that's consistently torching you and it's beating you, you try something different. And Joel Embiid brings you a lot of versatility. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see it. No, not forever, not for 30 minutes in a game, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, a couple possessions maybe. Sure, I think you'll see that. But with that being said, it's 10 o'clock. So another episode of Coffee with Brodes is in the books. I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their morning to sit back, relax, enjoy their coffee with me. It's one of my favorite things. I really do enjoy waking up knowing I get to hang out with you for an hour and just kind of shoot the shit and have some coffee. So thank you guys so much for listening. What's on the table today? As mentioned a couple times as I'm looking at my schedule here, we have a Phillies podcast coming today, so be aware for that. Open ice hits. If you're a hockey fan, we had Johnny Gaudreau on, and the Flames made a big coaching change. So he was interviewed on the show. We talked about Tom Wilson's hit. So if you're a fan of the NHL, go check out Open Ice Hits. It has its own Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, and it's on my YouTube channel as well. So just, check on that as well. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.